What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Danny Kelts. I'm just out here chilling on my balcony, and I had a really good morning. Went for a run, did a couple of things, and I was just thinking to myself as I was reading this book by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. So it's a great book. I'm about 80 pages in, but there's a lot of really good insight that I wanted to share with everybody, because I feel like there's a lot of people that maybe they don't know that the devil's trying to stop them from becoming the best version of themselves, And this is not even about religion, Napoleon Hill, he uses the devil as an analogy, right? It's like that's your lower self. That's the version of you that you're not proud of. That's the version of you that isn't willing to do things out of their comfort zone. That's the version of you that just complains and is negative, and that's what he talks about. So he has a bunch of strategies in here on how you can outwit the devil and avoid having to live in turmoil for your entire life, because you know what, that's not what God wants at the end of the day, right? So the biggest thing is he talks about the 6 most effective fears that the devil uses, okay? And the first one, it's so crazy to think about, because and this is the most profound one. Apparently it's like the one he utilizes the most. And I've seen it in my life as well. And it's the fear of poverty. Like, think about it. Take that in. The fear of poverty. How many people live in scarcity and are just so scared of and trying to ration everything and every last little thing that they have, because they're just so afraid of being broke and not having enough and living in lack. So that's that fear of poverty. And like, even when I was growing up, like we were living like that too, where we were worried about the bills being paid. I remember when I was a kid, I had to take cold showers before it was even cool to take cold showers. Like, I didn't necessarily want to take a cold shower, but guess what? I didn't have a choice because the gas got cut off. So guess what? No hot water. Or another times, basically the electricity would get cut off, and then it was like, okay, because it was like either the gas or the electricity, which one would you want? And then it's like, okay, well, the electricity got cut off, so now I just got to use candles in the bathroom to make sure that I can see what's going on when I'm going to have a shower or something like that, right? And so that was because there's this fear of poverty, right? And that's what the devil wants. The devil wants you to think in lack all the time and be scarce and not be in abundance and think that there's not enough to go around. But in reality, there's so much out here. There's so much abundance. You can have anything that you want. You can have an abundance of everything that you want. And you don't even necessarily have to be like, oh, I want to have a Lambo and a mansion and all these crazy things. But you know what? You shouldn't be in a situation where you're scraping by and you're struggling and you're stressing about that next dollar. That's not what God wants for you. And that's not what you're made for. So just remember that fear of poverty, when it kicks in, just remember, that's just the devil trying to get into your head. You got to reframe your whole mindset on it, and just remember, you have abundance. There's abundance out here, and you can get it, okay? So second one is the fear of criticism that he says. The devil uses the fear of criticism as one of the most effective fears. It's so true. There's so many people that are so worried about what everybody thinks about them and criticize them. Why are you doing this? And you shouldn't do that, and all that stuff. Who cares what those other people think? You got to remember this. You're the only person who has to sit there and be in your body every single day, 365 days a year, 24/7. You're the only person. And I mean, I mentioned this before, and I talk about this where it's like, even with your spouse, like, yeah, you spend a lot of time with your spouse. Like, I spend a lot of time with my wife. I love my wife, but she's not in me. She's not like experiencing this all the time, 24/7. So I got to be happy with me. I got to be happy with what's going on here. So I can't worry about the criticism from other people who are living their own life and are on their own journey, because that has nothing to do with me. The only thing that has something to do with me is, how do I feel about me? That's what matters. That's why criticism, you gotta look at it like this, man. How many statues of critics have you seen? The answer is none, because nobody cares about critics, because the critics are the people who haven't made it on their own and they're not willing to step out of their comfort zone. They're more afraid than you are. And then so they project their insecurities on you, and they have something going on in them that they're not happy with, and they're not happy on their journey. And you just got to remember, that's not a reflection of you. So if somebody's criticizing you for something, maybe you're stepping out of your comfort zone, you're doing something different, or even you're posting content and posting videos or something like that, and somebody wants to criticize you for whatever reason, they got to sit back and look at themselves first and be like, hey, well, why am I sending out all this hate and negativity and trying to criticize people? Because what's that? That's pure ego and arrogance. That's all it is because you think you're better than somebody else, so that you're going to criticize them and say, hey, you're not doing it right, because that's the wrong way to do it. You need to be doing it this way because I know this is the right way. That's not the right way to be. That's what the devil wants. The devil's getting into your head. So if you start fearing criticism, even if you're somebody who's criticizing other people, that's the devil getting into your head, because it doesn't really matter what other people are doing. What matters is, what are you doing? What are you focusing on, right? So just remember that. The third one is the fear of ill health. That happens so often where people are just so afraid to get an illness or to get a disease or something like that. So they start thinking about it, and guess what? It gets into your brain, it gets into your mind, it gets into your subconscious, because then you start thinking like, oh man, I don't want to get sick, and what if this happens? And then you start attracting it, because you don't realize that what you focus on becomes your reality. And those thoughts, guess what? They turn into something. So you got to just remember that kind of stuff, because you can't be worried about this ill health. You got to be focusing on being healthy, being strong, being vibrant, right? And those are the type of things that you need to focus your energy on. Worrying about your health is irrelevant, right? And even if some of you guys know the story about my mom, like when she first got sick with pulmonary hypertension, pulmonary fibrosis, which is scarring on the lungs, you essentially can't breathe, you lose your lung function. The only way to get better is to get a double lung transplant. That's what she needed. And the only way that she got through that was because we were there uplifting her and telling her how strong she was, how she was going to be healthy, how she was going to be feeling better. Once you get the double lung transplant, you're going to be breathing, you're going to be able to go and move around and walk and do all these things that you want to do, and just live so much better and just be able to breathe and be strong. And so like we got that into our head, so we killed that fear of ill health, which was the devil. The devil I got cut off because the phone got too hot outside. So you know what? I'm going to finish the rest of this video inside here. So like I was saying, man, the devil was trying to get into my mom's head and trying to keep her down, trying to keep her spirit from being strong. And we were able to help her, and she overcame that. And she overcame that fear of ill health, right? So I'm sharing this with you because the devil's going to try to get into your head about your health and your situation, but don't let him get into your head. You got to push through that, okay? And it's obviously good to have people around you that can support you, just like we did with my mom, to keep her strong, keep her spiritually strong. So that's what you got to do, okay? The fourth one is loss of love. So that's another thing. People are so scared of somebody not loving them because they're being themselves and being honest and being authentic or something like that. It's like you have this fear of losing love for some reason. That's another one that the devil tries to get into your head and makes you think like that this is going to happen, even though in reality, like people are still going to love you if you're just honest and transparent and authentic. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you maybe feel like you don't want to say something because you're worried about the reaction. That's where that fear comes in. So that's an example, right? If you need to talk to your wife about something, let's say, or you're in the workplace and you need to talk to a coworker about something, and like it's like eating away at you, and you don't want to have that conversation because you know it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation and you're scared of it. So that's where that fear comes in. So you got to be able to overcome that and keep pushing forward, and then just go have that conversation to make sure that you can not let the devil get into your head, okay? Number 5 is the fear of old age. People have this fear of getting older because they think as they get older, they're going to start to wither. They're not going to be as strong. They're not going to be as sharp. They're going to be in worse shape than when they were younger. But that fear of old age it's crazy to me because it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's how I know it's the devil, because even when I was younger, like I'm 34 now, and even when I was younger, like 22 or so, like I remember I was working with some guys and like they kept saying, "Oh man, back when I was your age, I was in good shape and this and that, but like wait till you get older." And I was like, "Man, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like when I'm older, I'm going to be in great shape. I'm going to be in better shape then than I'm in now." And you know what? Now I am. I'm 34 years old. I'm in better condition, better shape. I'm stronger. I'm more mentally sharp. I have more wisdom. I've learned a lot through my experiences. So I'm in a much better situation now as I've been aging, because age is just a number at the end of the day, but you're collecting experiences. So age is actually a good thing, and it shouldn't be something you fear, because as you age, that means you progress and you get to experience different chapters of your life, and you get to experience like new experiences. Like every chapter is going to be a new experience. Like even me, like I just got married, I got a kid on the way. Like these are new experiences, right? But they're different chapters, right? When I was younger, yeah, okay, I was doing dumb stuff and partying and going to the club and, you know, drinking and doing all this crazy stuff and smoking weed and all that stuff. But like, that was a chapter in my life, and I learned from those experiences, right? And now I moved past that and I'm into a different chapter in my life, right? So that's what you guys gotta remember, that fear of old age, it's just in your head. Don't even let it get into your head, because as you age, you should age gracefully. And every year you should be getting better. You should be improving. You should be a better version of yourself at 34 than you were at 33, right? Exactly the same thing. Every year should be growth and progression, right? As long as you have a vision for what kind of future, what kind of life you actually want to have, okay? The last one is the fear of death. That's a real problem. Like people are so scared about dying. It's like, oh my God, like I'm gonna die. Look, there's one thing that's inevitable. Every single one of us is gonna die at some point. Guaranteed. Like there's no way, unless somehow the technology gets so advanced that somehow everybody can just survive and we become immortal, or we can't perish anymore, right? Which I highly doubt that, because that's when everything would probably take a turn for the worse, because if people can't die, like that's the cycle of life, right? So if people can't die, then that's going to be a problem. So, but the biggest thing is, like, I don't know, people shouldn't have a fear of dying. They should have a fear of not living. And that's the biggest issue, because I think most people, like, they don't even live their lives. Like they don't even go and do the things that they actually want to do because of all those other fears. So instead of having this fear of death, they just go through this whole thing where they're not even living their life. They're not even living their life the way that they actually want to live their life, because they have this fear of death. Instead, they should be focused on actually living while they're here. And then you'll just live in so much more abundance. You'll have such a better life because of that, okay? So don't let the devil get into your head, right? This is a really good book. I highly recommend anybody who wants to improve and learn how to come up with some tactics on how you can, you know, get better and avoid the devil, basically avoid these things that are going to hold you back from becoming the best version of yourself. This is a great book. The greatest weapon that he talks about in here that the devil uses, and you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about, is the principle of habit. So what are your habits? What are your daily habits? That's where the devil gets most people. So you hit the snooze, you don't go to the gym when you're supposed to, you grab a muffin and whatever garbage in the morning first instead, because it's convenient and easy, instead of fueling your body with something more nutritious and something that's going to be better for you and give you more energy. So these little things, they add up, they compound. So really it's the principle of habit. That's how he gets people. He gets you into your daily routines where you're not doing anything to improve yourself, you're not doing anything, and then slowly you're declining. So that's the thing. The habits, your daily habits, it's like either you're slowly ascending and getting better, or you're slowly declining and becoming a lesser version of yourself and a lesser version of the person that you're meant to be. So look, if you can get control of your habits, then you can get control of your life. So just remember that, okay? And he talks about like what happens when you start to lose track of your habits and you don't have control over your habits, you start to drift. You ever like look and see a cloud that's just like drifting and just like going and just doing its own thing? Like you don't want to be like that. You don't want to be somebody who's just floating on a cloud, drifting, and wherever life takes me, I'm just gonna drift that way and drift this way. And like that's not, you need to be intentional with what you're doing, and your daily habits need to be intentional to build the person that you know you want to be. And that's really the most important thing. Okay? And those who do little or no thinking for themselves are the drifters. Okay? People who can be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of their mind. So if things that are going on outside of your mind are controlling you and controlling how you feel, then that's when you know you're starting to become a drifter. And you're letting that fear get into your mind, and you're letting the devil control you. Because if he's controlling your habits and he's making you drift into whatever situation that you don't even want to be in, then that's when you're like, oh man, I gotta do something about this, right? And so this is why I'm sharing this with you guys, okay? Because you gotta overcome these fears, right? The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, the fear of death. And then also you gotta remember that the principle of habit is so important for you to be in control of your mind, okay? Have the principle of habit where you're like, hey, what am I gonna do today that's gonna help me for tomorrow? That's what you gotta focus on, okay? Get those habits in check. Appreciate you guys, love you guys. Hit a comment, hit a like, and follow for more.